There's another kasha. People say that they bring a kasha that it says in Kisvay Ari, Arizal, Kabula. So the way they say is that the Arizal says that there cannot be a Techeiles bisman hazeh. We can't have Techeiles when there's no bismikdash. So it can't be that he says that, by the way, because there was Techeiles when there was no bismikdash. The bismikdash was Churev, and you still had the Tanuim that were after the Chol bismikdash and the Amaruim, and the Techeiles was still around until the end of the Tekifa of the Gemur of the Amaruim, until the Rabbunas Avarui. Hundreds of years the Techeiles was around after the Chol bismikdash. So obviously the Ri Kudish does not say that, but let's quote the words of the Ri Kudish. I'm not going to quote anything that has Kabula diki kavuna, but I'm just going to quote what he speaks around it. He says a kavuna al pi kabula, and then after that he says, therefore, v'luchain, because of this kavuna, which is shaykh and has some connection to having a Beis Hamikdash. V'luchain hoyenoyig bizman shebeis hamikdash kam. Therefore, this mitzvah was done, you were mekayim the mitzvah during the times of the Beis Hamikdash. Al tzitzis al luvon, the white tzitzis she'uni noheg moyam that we have today, is he medalid moichen aklilim bebined de'ime. He says a kavuna what it is. V'zehi hatam sha'ayin lo nit Techeiles bizman hazeh. That's the reason that we don't have Techeiles today. And he writes later that in fact the Inyan that the Techeiles has to be mekayim, the kabula diki kavuna, that the Techeiles has to accomplish for the tikkun oilam exactly what it's accomplishing in the depths of the oilam yisrael gets accomplished today, but it doesn't get accomplished through our deeds because we're not capable of doing that because we don't have the Beis Hamikdash. He writes that she'ain luni atu koyach she'ayusei hadover al yudaini. We do not have the koyach that this should be done through our actions. So he writes, therefore we don't have Techeiles. Now, obviously, what does he mean? Does he mean to say that if we have Techeiles, we shouldn't wear it? Chas v'shulim. How could he say that? How could he be mevatel mitzvah? No poskim say that. Nowhere does it say. There's no gemur. There's nothing to say that there could be Techeiles in Amchia Fakeh. I've shown you that if there is Techeiles, you are mechiv to wear it. Not only that, but you have there's a certain application lahalucha, and that is whether you're allowed to wear today a beged of pishton with tzitzis. So there are poskim who say that even today we shouldn't wear it. The reason originally that you shouldn't wear it is because if there was Techeiles, somebody might put on Techeiles and somebody might put on an imitation of Techeiles and it'll be shatnez shaloi b'mukim mitzvah. So, but today that there's no possibility, today means not today, it means today before the rediscovery of Techeiles. If there's no possibility of anyone wearing Techeiles, so nobody would wear an imitation either. So there's no fear of anybody being over on the Issa of Shatnez because they'll use strings of linen to pat a beged of linen. They won't use strings of wool because why would they? It's not that we don't have Techeiles. But there are poskim who say that we should not wear a beged of pishton, because the Gzaira is still shaykh, and they quote the Maril says that it's possible that Techeiles will be rediscovered. And the other poskim bring it, the Oilis Tumid, who is a posik that the Magen Avraham brings all the time. And the Malbim, the Artzis HaChaim, is a posik that the Mishnah Berurah brings all the time. They say that the Techeiles could come about. They also bring the Radvaz, that the Radvaz says that it's possible that the Techeiles is around somewhere. It's just we don't know. We don't know how to identify it, but it's possible that it exists. So therefore, the poskim say it could be rediscovered. So clearly, they did not understand. The poskim, the Maril says it could be rediscovered, will be mechiv, will be wearing Techeiles. There's no way to say that the Arizal says that even if we have Techeiles, we don't have to be mekayim a mitzvah in the Torah. It's impossible. Chulil v'chulil. I mean, to say that is kimat kurev tapikosis, that the mitzvah is brutal. We say in the Animamens every day, the Torah will not be changed. There won't be a different Torah. The Torah which says you put on Techeiles is the same Torah that we have today. If we have Techeiles, we have to put it on. So maybe there's a different interpretation of the. Maybe he doesn't mean to say that if you have Techeiles, you don't put it on. Chas v'shulim. Maybe he means to say that we just won't have Techeiles because of this, because of the reason he says. So there will not be Techeiles shelo b'zman habayis. Again, he can't say that because obviously there was Techeiles shelo b'zman habayis. So he obviously doesn't mean to say there cannot be Techeiles. Also, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when the Beis Mikdash gets built? So the same day that they're going to build the Beis Mikdash, that same day they're going to discover the Techeiles and they're going to start dyeing wool and everyone's going to be Mechir. I mean, wouldn't it come about like a little bit before the Binyan Beis Mikdash, as actually the Seifer, one of the Chivas Vurim, Yeshiyas Malkoi, actually says that, it could be that before the Ge'ila, Techeiles will reemerge. It's obviously something we're going to need after the Beis Mikdash is built, after Mashiach comes. So maybe, we're hoping the Mashiach is going to come any day. So now's the time. The Techeiles obviously at some point is going to be rediscovered. So who's to say it's not rediscovered now? But what the Riyah Kodesh is saying, without putting words into his mouth, which those interpretations are clearly doing, he doesn't say there cannot be Techeiles lebizman habayis. He doesn't say that if there's Techeiles, you don't wear it. What he does say is that, why the Rabbi needs all of these kavunas. He needs it because you need it in the world. It's the tikna oilam, all these kavunas for the kavuna, al pi kabula, what's needed to correct whatever is needed, whatever the mitzvahs accomplish in the oilam u'al yoinim. So how could it be that we're living in the world without it? It's something that we need. So the Riyah Kodesh says that it gets this kavuna, it gets accomplished, not through us. We're not capable of doing it anyway. So that's why the Rabbi Shalom didn't give us Techeiles for this time, because we anyway are not able to have this kavuna. Kind of explains how it could be that the Rabbi Shalom would allow this to happen, that we shouldn't have the mitzvah. That's what he says. He says, therefore, we don't have Techeiles b'zman hazeh because we're not able to be mekayim this kavuna. But he doesn't say we will not have Techeiles b'zman hazeh. That's putting words into his mouth. He doesn't say that if you have Techeiles, you put it. That's putting words into his mouth. Chas v'shulim. And the fact of the matter is, we've proven beyond a doubt that we have Techeiles b'zman hazeh. And the Riyah Kodesh does not say different.